Welcome back. Today we're jumping straight into Jeremiah chapter 41.
Yeah, it's a short chapter, but incredibly dense and quite brutal.
Definitely. It picks up right after the fall of Jerusalem. The Babylonians have taken over, and they've appointed Gedaliah as governor in Mizpah.
Exactly. He's trying to establish some kind of order, pull things together after all the destruction. A difficult task.
Very difficult. And into this already tense situation walks Ishmael. He's got royal lineage, was an officer under the old king.
Right, and he doesn't come alone. He arrives with 10 men. That arrival itself feels ominous, doesn't it?
It really does. And the story takes a dark turn almost immediately. They're sharing a meal with Gedaliah.
A meal,
Mm.
which back then especially signified trust, peace, a covenant almost.
And that trust is just shattered. Ishmael and his men, they assassinate Gedaliah right there.
It's shocking. And it wasn't just Gedaliah, was it?
No, not at all. The text says Ishmael also killed all the Judeans who were with Gedaliah, and even the Babylonian soldiers stationed there in Mizpah.
So a complete wipeout of the established authority in that town. A very violent rejection.
Absolutely. And the very next day, before word really gets out.
80 men show up. Pilgrims, actually.
Yeah, from Shechem, Shiloh, Samaria. They're heading towards the destroyed temple site carrying offerings. They have no idea what's just happened in Mizpah.
None at all. And Ishmael goes out to meet them.
The detail here is chilling. It says he was weeping as he met them.
Weeping. Inviting them to come see Gedaliah, who he's just murdered. The deception is just staggering.
It really is. He lures them into the city.
And then he and his men kill 70 of them, just like that.
Throws their bodies into this large cistern. The text even mentions it was built by King Asa ages ago.
Yeah, it adds this layer of historical weight, a defilement of something old. Like a grim detail.
There's a small, almost bleak detail of survival, though. 10 men managed to save themselves.
How did he do that?
They told Ishmael they had hidden supplies, wheat, barley, oil, honey, out in a field.
Ah, so they essentially bought their lives with provisions.
Exactly. Ishmael spared them for the supplies. It's a stark reminder of the desperation.
It really is. So after all this bloodshed, what does Ishmael do next?
He rounds up everyone else left in Mizpah, all the people, including the king's daughters Nebuzaradan had left in Gedaliah's care.
Right. Quite a responsibility Gedaliah had.
And Ishmael takes them all captive, heading east towards the Ammonites.
But news like this, well, it tends to travel, doesn't it?
It does. Yohanan, another military leader, hears about what Ishmael has done.
And he doesn't just sit back.
No, he gathers his own forces and goes after Ishmael. They eventually catch up with him near the great pool at Gibeon.
And what happens when they meet?
Well, the captives Ishmael was dragging along. When they see Yohanan and his men, they're apparently overjoyed.
Understandable.
They immediately switch sides, joining Yohanan.
So Ishmael loses his leverage, his captives.
He does. He manages to escape, though. Slips away with just 8 of his original 10 men and makes it to the Ammonites.
So he gets away despite everything.
He does. Yohanan then takes charge of all the rescued people. Soldiers, women, children, officials, everyone from Mizpah.
And where do they go? Not back to Mizpah, I assume.
No, they head south, stopping near Bethlehem at a place called Geruth Kimham. But their ultimate goal is Egypt.
Egypt. Why Egypt?
Fear. Pure and simple. The text explicitly states they were afraid of the Babylonians.
Because Gedaliah, the governor of the Babylonians,
Was killed by Ishmael, one of their own countrymen. They feared Babylonian reprisals for that assassination.
So this act of violence by Ishmael essentially drives the remaining community out of Judah altogether.
Precisely. It's such a cascade of violence, betrayal, and fear packed into one chapter.
It really shows how one man's actions, driven by whatever motives, revenge, power, maybe misplaced patriotism, can have devastating ripple effects in such a volatile situation.
And it leaves you thinking about those survivors, led by Yohanan, heading towards Egypt out of fear. What choices did they really have? It paints a stark picture of survival under foreign rule when internal conflict erupts.
A powerful, if disturbing, snapshot of history. It certainly gives you a lot to consider about trust, power, and the human cost of conflict.
Absolutely. And that's where we'll leave our deep dive for today.